Crime Scene Management. Dear participant, you are welcome to the Academy Allogene online program. Please pay attention to this course. Objectives: to train individuals in managing and securing crime scenes, to provide skills for evidence collection and preservation at crime scenes, to ensure that crime scenes are handled professionally and efficiently. Outcome: participants will be able to proficiently manage and secure crime scenes, collect and preserve evidence at crime scenes according to standards, handle evidence professionally, ensuring the integrity of evidence. Course outline. Part 1. Introduction to Crime Scene Management. Module 1. Evidence of crime scene management in the investigative process. Module 2. Roles and responsibilities of crime scene personnel. Module 3. Legal and ethical considerations. Part 2. Key components of crime scene management. Module 4. Securing the crime scene. Initial response and assessment. Establishing perimeter and controlling access. Module 5. Documentation. Photography and videography. Sketching. Note-taking. Module 6. Evidence collection. Identification. Collection techniques. Packaging. Module 7. Preservation. Chain of custody and storage. Module 8. Analysis. Preliminary analysis and forensic analysis. Module 9. Reporting. Documentation of findings. Comprehensive reports and clarity. Now we commence the course in full. Module 1. Introduction and importance of crime scene management in the investigative process. Introduction to crime scene management. Definitions. A crime scene is an act or omission that violates a law or statute, resulting in harm to individuals, society, or the state. Crimes can be categorized into various types, including violent crimes, for example, murder, assault; property crimes, for example, theft, vandalism; white-collar crimes, for example, fraud, embezzlement; cyber crimes, for example, hacking, identity theft. Crimes are typically punishable by law, and the severity of the punishment depends on the nature and severity of the offense. What constitutes a crime scene? A crime scene is the physical location where a crime has occurred or is suspected to have occurred. It is the area where evidence related to the crime is likely to be found. A crime scene can be a specific location, for example, a room, a building, a vehicle; an outdoor area, for example, a park, a street, a field; a virtual space, for example, a computer, a network, a digital device. A crime scene typically includes physical evidence, for example, fingerprints, DNA, footprints; testimonial evidence, example, witness statements, suspect statements; documentary evidence, for example, records, documents, photographs. Crime scene management is a critical aspect of forensic science and criminal investigation that involves the systematic process of securing, documenting, collecting, and preserving evidence from a crime scene. Its primary goal is to ensure that all physical evidence is properly handled and maintained in a way that allows it to be used effectively in legal proceedings. Importance of crime scene management in investigations. The following are importance of crime scene management in the investigative process to ensure reliability and integrity of the process. 1. Ensuring integrity and reliability. Proper crime scene management ensures that evidence is collected and preserved in a manner that maintains its integrity, making it reliable for forensic analysis and legal proceedings. 2. Preventing contamination. By securing the crime scene and using proper collection techniques, investigators can prevent the contamination or destruction of evidence, which is crucial for maintaining its admissibility in court. 3. Supporting investigations. Accurate and thorough documentation and evidence collection provide a solid foundation for reconstructing the events of the crime, identifying suspects, and establishing a timeline. 4. Enhancing prosecution. Well-managed crime scenes lead to stronger cases by providing clear, reliable evidence that can be presented in court, thereby increasing the likelihood of successful prosecutions. What have we learned so far? So we've learned that crime scene management is a critical aspect of forensic science and criminal investigation. It involves securing, documenting, collecting, and preserving evidence from a crime scene. Effective crime scene management ensures the integrity of evidence and its admissibility in court. Also, it requires a systematic process to handle physical evidence properly. All right, a quick test. 1. What is the primary goal of crime scene management? 2. Why is it essential to secure a crime scene? 3. What are the consequences of poor crime scene management? Module 2. Roles and responsibilities of crime scene personnel. Roles and responsibilities of crime scene personnel. 1. First responders. First responders secure the scene, provide medical assistance, and prevent contamination. They also establish initial perimeters and maintain a log of all individuals entering and exiting the scene. 2. Crime scene investigators. The crime scene investigators conduct detailed searches for evidence. They also document the scene through notes, sketches, photographs, and videography. They also collect and preserve physical evidence. 3. Forensic experts. They analyze collected evidence in the laboratory, prepare detailed forensic reports, and provide expert testimony in court. 4. Law enforcement officers. They oversee the overall investigation, coordinate with crime scene investigators and forensic experts, conduct interviews, and follow leads generated by the crime scene analysis. So what have we learned so far? In summary. So we've learned that crime scene personnel include first responders, crime scene investigators, forensic experts, and law enforcement officers. We've learned that each role has specific responsibilities such as securing the scene, documenting evidence, collecting and preserving evidence, and analyzing evidence. We've learned that effective communication and coordination among personnel ensures a successful investigation. Now, a quick test. What are the roles and responsibilities of first responders at a crime scene? What is the difference between crime scene investigators and forensic experts? And why is coordination among crime scene personnel crucial? Module 3. Legal and ethical considerations. Legal and ethical considerations. 1. Admissibility of evidence. This refers to the process of determining whether evidence collected from a crime scene is legally acceptable and can be presented in court. Following proper procedures ensures that evidence is admissible in court. Adherence to legal protocols for search and seizure is crucial to avoid evidence exclusion. Admissibility of evidence. For evidence to be admissible, it must meet certain criteria. 1. Relevance. The evidence must be relevant to the case and help prove or disprove a fact. 2. Authenticity. The evidence must be genuine and not tampered with or altered. 3. Reliability. The evidence must be reliable and trustworthy. 4. Chain of custody. The evidence must have been handled and stored properly to prevent contamination or tampering. 5. Legal compliance. The evidence must have been collected in accordance with relevant laws and regulations. Legal and ethical consideration. Number 2. Chain of custody. A chronological record of every individual who handles evidence from the time it's collected to its presentation in court. The purpose ensures evidence integrity, authenticity, and admissibility in legal proceedings, meaning maintaining an unbroken chain of custody is essential to prove the integrity of evidence from the crime scene to the courtroom. Key components of chain of custody. 1. Documentation. Accurate and detailed records of every transfer, storage, and access to evidence include date, time, and location, names and signatures of individuals handling evidence, description of evidence and its condition. 2. Control, ensuring evidence is stored in a secure, tamper-proof environment with limited access to authorized personnel. 3. Accountability, ensuring that every individual who handles evidence is accountable for their actions and can be identified. 4. Preservation, ensuring evidence is properly preserved to prevent contamination, degradation, or loss. 5. Transfer, ensuring evidence is transferred securely and documented with clear records of who handled it and when. 6. Storage, ensuring evidence is stored in a secure, climate-controlled environment with limited access. 7. Access, controlling access to evidence with clear records of who accessed it and when. 8. Disposal, ensuring evidence is properly disposed of with clear records of the disposal process. Legal and ethical consideration. Number 3. Ethical conduct, upholding ethical standards ensures the credibility and integrity of the evidence. Treating victims and their families with respect and sensitivity is paramount. Ethical considerations. 1. Respect for the deceased and their families. Dignified treatment of victims and sensitivity towards their loved ones. 2. Integrity and objectivity. Unbiased collection and analysis of evidence, avoiding contamination and falsification. 3. Confidentiality and discretion. Protection of sensitive information and maintenance of confidentiality throughout the investigation. 4. Respect for the rights of suspects and defendants. Ensuring the rights of individuals suspected or accused of crimes are protected. 5. Transparency and accountability. Open communication and documentation of procedures to ensure accountability and trust in the investigation. 6. Cultural sensitivity and awareness. Consideration of diverse cultural backgrounds and practices when collecting and analyzing evidence. 7. Minimizing harm and trauma. Taking steps to minimize harm and trauma to victims, witnesses, and families during the investigation. Legal and ethical consideration number 4. Confidentiality. Maintaining confidentiality of the case details and evidence to protect the integrity of the investigation and the privacy of individuals involved. Ethical consideration in confidentiality. 1. Victim and family privacy. Respecting the privacy and dignity of victims and their families. 2. Investigative integrity. Avoiding premature disclosure of information that could compromise the investigation or lead to false accusations. 3. Public trust. Maintaining confidentiality to uphold public confidence in law enforcement and the criminal justice system. 4. Professional discretion. Balancing the need for information sharing with the need to protect sensitive information. Best practices in confidentiality. 1. Limit access to authorized personnel. 2. Use secure storage and transmission methods. 3. Implement confidentiality agreements and non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. 4. Conduct regular training on confidentiality and privacy laws. And 5. Establish clear protocols for information sharing and disclosure. So, what have we learned so far? Summary. So, we've learned that legal and ethical considerations are essential in crime scene management. Admissibility of evidence, chain of custody, ethical conduct, and confidentiality are critical factors. Failure to adhere to these principles can compromise the integrity of evidence and the investigation. A quick test. What are the legal implications of improper evidence handling? 2. Why is maintaining a chain of evidence crucial? 3. What are the ethical considerations in crime scene management? Part 2. Key components of crime scene management. The key components of crime scene management. 1. Securing the scene. Initial response. Safety first. Ensure the safety of all individuals at the scene, including victims, bystanders, and law enforcement personnel. Emergency aid. Provide necessary medical assistance to victims while minimizing contamination of the evidence. Control entry. Establish and control access points to the crime scene to prevent unauthorized entry and potential evidence contamination. Establishing a perimeter. Set boundaries. Create a secure perimeter around the crime scene using barriers, tapes, or other markers to clearly delineate the boundaries. Log entries. Maintain an entry log of all personnel who enter and exit the scene to ensure accountability and traceability. So, what have we learned so far? In summary, securing crime scenes is essential in crime scene management. Safety first, emergency aids, and entry controls in initial response are crucial factors. Failure to establish a perimeter can compromise the integrity of evidence and the investigation. A quick test. 1. What are the legal implications of improper evidence handling? 2. Why is maintaining a chain of custody crucial? 3. What are the ethical considerations in crime scene management? Model 5. Documentation. Documentation. Photography and videography. Comprehensive coverage. Capture detailed images and videos of the entire crime scene from multiple angles before any evidence is disturbed. Contextual shots. Include wide-angle shots to provide context as well as close-ups of individual pieces of evidence. Sketching. Scene layout. Create accurate diagrams and sketches of crime scene, noting the location of evidence, significant objects, and other pertinent details. Measurements. Ensure precise measurements to provide scale and spatial relationships between items in the scene. Key components of crime scene management. Documentation. Note taking. Detailed records. Keep detailed notes on observations, actions taken, and the conditions of the scene. Chronological order. Record events and actions in chronological order to provide a clear timeline. What have we learned so far? In summary, we have learned that documentation is a critical component of crime scene management. We've also learned that it includes photography, videography, sketching, and note-taking. We've also learned that accurate documentation provides a permanent record of the crime scene and evidence. A quick test. What are the purposes of photography and videography in crime scene documentation. Why is sketching important in crime scene documentation? What information should be included in note taking? Model 6. Evidence collection. Evidence collection. Identification. Locate evidence. Conduct a thorough search to identify all potential evidence, which can include physical items, biological samples, and digital data. Prioritization. Determine the most critical pieces of evidence and prioritize their collection to prevent loss or contamination. Collection techniques. Proper tools. Use appropriate tools and methods for collecting different types of evidence. Example, gloves, tweezers, and swabs. Minimize contamination. Follow protocols to minimize contamination and preserve the integrity of the evidence. Packaging. Secure containers. Use appropriate containers for different types of evidence. For example, paper bag for biological samples, plastic bag for non-biological items. Labeling. Clearly label all evidence with relevant information, including the date, time, location, and collector's name. What have we learned so far? In summary, we have learned that evidence collection involves identifying, collecting, and preserving physical evidence. Proper techniques and tools are essential to prevent contamination and ensure the integrity of evidence. A quick test. 1. What are the steps involved in evidence collection? 2. Why is it essential to prioritize evidence collection? 3. What are the consequences of improper evidence collection techniques? Module 7. Preservation. Preservation. Chain of custody. Documentation. Maintain a documented record of everyone who handles the evidence from the time it is collected until it is presented in court. Integrity. Ensure that the chain of custody is unbroken to preserve the integrity and admissibility of the evidence. Storage. Controlled environment. Store evidence in a secure and controlled environment to prevent contamination, degradation, and loss. Access control. Limit access to stored evidence to authorized personnel only. So what have we learned so far? In summary, preservation involves maintaining the integrity of evidence from the crime scene to the courtroom. Chain of custody and proper storage are critical factors in evidence preservation. A quick test. 1. What is the purpose of maintaining a chain of custody? 2. Why is proper storage essential for evidence preservation? 3. What are the consequences of poor evidence preservation? Module 8. Analysis. Analysis. Preliminary analysis. On-site examination. Conduct initial examination at the crime scene to identify types of evidence and assess their relevance. Immediate actions. Take immediate actions that are necessary to preserve perishable evidence. Forensic analysis. Laboratory testing. Send collected evidence to forensic laboratories for detailed analysis, including DNA testing, fingerprint analysis, ballistic examination, and digital forensics. Expert reports. Prepare detailed forensic reports that summarize the findings and their implications for the investigation. What have we learned so far? In summary, we have learned that analysis involves examining evidence to determine its relevance and significance. Preliminary analysis occurs at the crime scene, while forensic analysis takes place in a laboratory. A quick test. What is the purpose of preliminary analysis? Why is forensic analysis essential in crime scene investigation? What are the types of forensic analysis? Module 9. Reporting. Reporting. Documentation of findings. Comprehensive reports. Prepare detailed reports that include observations, evidence collected, methods used, and preliminary conclusions. Clarity. Ensure that reports are clear and concise, making it easy for non-experts to understand. What have we learned so far? In summary, reporting involves documenting findings, including observations, evidence collected, methods used, and preliminary conclusions. Clear and concise reporting ensures that non-experts can understand the results. A quick test. What are the essential components of a comprehensive report? Why is clarity important in reporting? What are the consequences of poor reporting? Case study: the murder at the Lagos mansion. Now we are going to treat a case study on how to manage a crime scene. Background: on a stormy night in Lagos, Nigeria, the body of wealthy businessman Richard Oyewole was found dead in his mansion. The police were called and the crime scene was secured. However, the initial response was disorganized and potential evidence was compromised. Issues identified include: 1. Contamination of the crime scene. 2. Lack of proper documentation. 3. Inadequate evidence collection. And 4. Poor communication among investigators. Procedures deployed in managing the crime scene. Step 1. Securing the scene. They established a secure perimeter. They limited access to authorized personnel and conducted a thorough search for evidence. Step 2. Documentation. They photographed and videographed the scene, created a detailed sketch of the scene, and took notes on observations and actions taken. Step 3. Evidence collection. They identified and collected physical evidence, that is, fingerprints, DNA samples, etc. They used proper tools and techniques to prevent contamination and labeled and packaged evidence for storage. Step 4. Chain of custody. They maintain a documented record of evidence handling and ensured evidence was stored in a secure environment. Step 5. Analysis. They conducted preliminary analysis on site and sent evidence to forensic laboratories for detailed analysis. Step 6. Reporting. They prepared comprehensive report on findings and ensured clarity and concision in reporting. Now, the results. The disorganized initial response was rectified through proper crime scene management procedures. Evidence was collected and preserved, leading to the identification of the killer. The case was solved and justice was served. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have learned how to manage a crime scene. Please click on the link in the description below to access the assessment form where you are to fill in your answers to the quick test questions in this course.